And this is Ken Kraetzer for CaMMVetsMedia. We cover cadets, midshipmen, the military, and veterans proudly since 2008. And we are really excited to have a chance to sit down for a few minutes with the Dean of the United States Military Academy. That is Brigadier General Shane R. Reeves. He's the 15th Dean at West Point. General, good to talk with you today.
Hey, thanks, Ken, for having me. I'm looking forward to our discussion.
Well, first, last time I saw you was down at the Army Navy games, and the day before was the debate team match, which we always enjoy covering, and a lively discussion. Army was proponent of drone capability, the Navy 3D printing on ships, and Army came out on top. What is it like for you to watch an event like that in the prestigious Senate office building?
It's actually a bit surreal. I will sit there and if you know the history of the Army Navy debate, it really started with from a grassroots effort, and it's a little bit of hyperbole, but it was cadets and midshipmen just getting in just in any random room and having a discussion, and then it's over the years has grown in terms of prominence and professionalism. To the point this year, I'm sitting there and I'm looking, and there is sitting members of Congress, both from the Senate and the House, judging, as well as very senior officials from DoD that are sitting on the panel, asking the cadets questions in a room that's completely full with a number of general officers and congressional staffers inside of one of the I think it was in the Russell building, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and Admiral Mike Mullen there. Uh, that's quite a judging panel for your cadets and the
Yeah.
midshipmen to look at.
And that's what's most amazing to me. I think back when I was a cadet, I couldn't even imagine doing that. But then watching them in that environment, be able to step up to a podium and be able to articulate their points and then respond very quickly to counterpoints and rebuttal. And they do that in such a way that makes us so proud. It's amazing the level of talent that you see amongst the cadets and midshipmen in that environment. And then they make these really great points. I had a conversation with some of the members of the judges from the panel, and they actually were like, no, that's a really interesting point I hadn't thought through. So there's the nice benefit of watching our cadets perform. There's the ancillary benefit of they're actually generating some interesting ideas in those that can effectuate change if necessary.
Hey, and then you came back, and one of the West Point debate team captain, not Knox Watson from Weston, Connecticut, was named a George C. Marshall Scholar,
Yep.
51st from USMC, United States Military Academy. That's quite another prestigious award for you.
Yeah, the cadets have just the level of excellence at West Point is indicative of all the cadets, right? So you'll see these cadets that do amazing things. You'll see a kid like Knox win the Marshall Scholarship, or we had our this year we had our 4 Rhodes Scholars. The previous year we had our 2 Rhodes Scholars. But those are just a small snippet, and we talk about those, but that's actually the tip of the iceberg. Behind them, there's an amazing group of cadets that are doing all types of things that would make the country quite proud. And those might be on the athletic field, they might be in competing in Sandhurst, or going to scuba school, or of course in the academic pillar, they're doing amazing things both in terms of capstone projects, research, as you said, speech and debate, academic clubs, but of course competing at the national, international level with students from around the world for these very prestigious scholarships.
Absolutely. And hey, I want to have you just describe your theme for the year: human and machine integration, leadership on an emerging battlefield. We've heard that come up in Army discussions during the year. Sounds like a lot of integration of AI, drones, and robots. What's involved with that?
Well, at the core of the academic year theme is simply this, that we have a responsibility to ensure that our military is the most lethal and effective in the world. And tomorrow's battlefields are demanding leaders that can integrate the technology into the human skills that are part of the art of leadership. So we came up with our academic year theme of the human and the machine because we're asking our cadets to walk into the most complex and ambiguous and uncertain environment imaginable. And they're going to need to be reliant on technology. And they can't just be comfortable with technology. They're going to have to use that technology to enable their abilities so that they do have an asymmetric advantage. And as you know, we're not looking for a fair fight. We're looking for the United States military to overpower our adversaries. And our adversaries are very quickly starting to adopt technology to try to gain advantage. And so our graduates need to understand how to integrate technology into their own leadership and their own ability to fight and win. But it can't replace the human element. There's human skills that are absolutely critical to leadership. There's certain things that only humans can do. And so the technology is meant to enable and accelerate those things that our graduates already do, which is be innovative and be creative and be entrepreneurial. And so it seemed very timely. As you pointed out, the modern battlefield is replete with examples of drones and artificial intelligence and autonomy. There are literally millions of drones across the 800-mile front in Ukraine, right? And those drones are doing things from reconnaissance to targeting to gathering data and feeding all that back to commanders to make very, very quick decisions. And so this connection between drones, data, artificial intelligence, and autonomy is really changing things dramatically. And so we came up with our academic year theme to help focus the academic program and our staff and faculty and our cadets on this really critical issue.
Hey, one new innovation that you have many innovations, is aeronautical engineering, that you're planning a new program and developing, and it builds on the legacy of extraordinary West Point graduates, their contributions to the space program. I think of Lieutenant Colonel Ed White, first man to walk in space, and Buzz Aldrin, 51 graduate, second man to walk on the moon, numerous space shuttle and space station crew members. And now you're going to have aeronautical engineering. We hear about how the space program is now currently so important to the Army as far as satellites. Tell us about what your new program and how that'll support the Army space operation.
So over the last about 18 months, the academic board has taken on the effort to try to transform the academic program to be responsive to the modern, well, really the contemporary and the future threat environment. And so the transformation has resulted in a number of different changes. And one of those is what you just highlighted, which is the creation of the Mechanical and Aerospace Department. And really what drove this is, as you pointed out, West Point's had a long history of connection to aerospace. In fact, one of the very first people killed in an aeronautical accident, along with one of the Wright brothers, was a West Point graduate. And so West Point graduates have been heavily involved in aerospace and space since the very inception of both of those domains. And so what we determined is one of the newest domains of warfare is space, and space is of critical importance. If you really look at the importance of space in terms of its connection to land warfare, you really can't lose the space domain. The space without connection to space, the land fighter is in big trouble. So you can start thinking about low orbit satellites, long range artillery, collection of information through whether it's at the tactical or strategic level of aeronautical assets, and you can just keep going. And so realizing this and recognizing that the Army was very much moving aggressively into trying to figure out how to operate inside this domain, drove some of the decisions to create this aerospace program. And the aerospace program is really meant to be the engineering underlying a lot of these conversations that are taking place in the space domain. But it's really connected not just to the mechanical and aerospace program, it's really connected across the entire academic program by connecting to both our physics department, which does a lot of the science, astrophysics, connection to our geography department that has what's called GIS, information systems, and how satellites work. And when you put all that together, it starts to help our cadets understand this emerging domain and the importance of it and its connection to land warfare. So that was one of the driving reasons for the aerospace program, both the connection to our history, obviously the connection to Army aviation, the connection to Space and Missile Defense Command, but really also helping our graduates prepare to fight and win in the newest domain of warfare.
Hey, another key domain is cyber, and we've had the chance to attend some of the West Point competitions against the NSA,
Yeah.
and always very competitive. And the former Secretary of the Army talked about how important cyber preparedness was to to the Army, and now you're getting close to opening up your new cyber engineering building right there on Thayer Road, coming along. Tell us a little bit about its status, and then what capabilities and resources the new cyber engineering building will bring to your cadets.
Well, I mean, it's an exciting initiative, but it's critical to our national security. We talk about war fighting, we talk about lethality, we talk about readiness. The Cyber Engineering Academic Center is directly related to all three of those. It's a 136,000 square foot, $250 million facility that isn't just going to help accelerate our efforts in the cyber domain, but also in all the emerging tech. Very much connects to this theme, this human and the machine. The capabilities will include drone testing facilities. They'll have a wind tunnel. It'll be connected to our aerospace program. It will, of course, help us understand and become dominant in the cyber domain. But it's very much connected to the entire academic program and really trying to connect emerging tech to again a lot of those human skills that are necessary to fight and win. The building is right now scheduled to be open, and I don't have exact dates, but within a couple of years. It's coming along very nicely. If you're at West Point and you walk if you're walking down Thayer Road, you can see the work that's being done on it, and it's come out of the ground. It's the framework is there, and so now it's just getting it mission capable so that we can start to not just educate cadets, but we can start doing some of the important research that is become such a big part of our education model with cadets.
Hey, that now looking forward to that. So important. One of maybe a final question, and we're running out of time, is something came up at the Board of Visitors meeting about you're educating cadets to be scholars. You had 4 Rhodes Scholars this year, a Marshall Scholar, other distinguished graduates and academics. You do the importance of language study. It
Sure.
was mentioned at one of the Board of Visitors meeting to talk to to your allies. And but then also you're training cadets to be soldiers, to being artillery officers, infantry, and your background in armor. How do you find cadets that are and young Americans who are willing to do both and excel at both?
So the young people that come to West Point are extraordinary. They are driven, they're idealistic, they're motivated by challenge. They want an opportunity to lead, and they want to have an opportunity to lead in the most difficult of circumstances. And so sometimes there's this fear. People are like, well, what happens if we go to war? What happens if this challenge comes down our way? How are we gonna operate in this environment? And what I find with cadets is they raise their hand and say, oh, no, that's where I want to be. Like, put me into that situation. I want the opportunity to lead in the most challenging of circumstances. So these young people come to West Point with a very, with a real motivation to be challenged. And they know part of the challenge at West Point is they're going to be really pushed physically. They're going to be pushed militarily. But my job is to push them academically. And you've heard me talk about this, Ken. We don't have any interest in coddling cadets in the classroom. My job is to create critical thinkers that can successfully navigate all of those complexities I mentioned earlier, and to teach cadets how to think and not what to think. And that oftentimes sounds like a cliche, but it's really true. Because at the end of the day, it's those critical thinking skills that separates the U.S. Army officer from our opponents, and our ability to think, our ability to be innovative, our ability to lead and have the physical resilience to do all that in a very tough circumstance. That's what separates us and makes us different. It's what will allow us to win. It's always been what separates the U.S. Army, is at the most junior level. regardless of how the technology is playing out and the communications playing out and who we are or not talking to, there's going to be a platoon leader with his or her platoon sergeant who's going to be across across the field or the ground from their adversary, and they're going to be asked to go do some extraordinarily difficult things, and they're going to have to do that on behalf of their nation. And it's simple as this: they're either going to win or they're going to lose. And they're going to win because they're going to have the ability to think their way through whatever problem comes their way, whatever obstacle comes their way. And that's one of the things I find very interesting when I look at global conflicts. Pick Ukraine, pick wherever. As soon as, say, the Russians hit an obstacle, they freeze because they don't really have the ability to think their way through the problem. They don't have the ability to navigate off of the rote plan that was given to them. And that's because they're scared to do so. Whereas the West Pointer is at their very best in those situations. That's exactly what we expect them to do. We expect them to be able to navigate through the fog of war because they know what's going to come, and they should expect it. And in fact, I think that they embrace that. And so those young people you mentioned, like, how do we do all of this? We push them and develop them and mentor them all day, every day. Every touch point with a cadet is an opportunity to develop them. Staff and faculty are laser focused on ensuring that our graduates are successful when they walk into that most difficult of human endeavors, which is war. And there's nothing that we think about more than that, which is literally just getting them ready to go fight on behalf of their nation and ensure that they're successful in doing so.
Well, Brigadier General Shane R. Reeves, great to talk with you. And the Dean at the United States Military Academy, thank you for your service to our country. Great to chat today. Hope we can do this again down the road.
Sure, anytime you want. Thanks for the talk. Appreciate it.
Good to see you. This is Ken Kraetzer for CaMMVetsMedia. We cover cadets, midship, and the military veterans proudly since 2008. Thanks for watching.